If you drive a car or ever ride in one, this story affects you. It's the time of year when we can experience some dangerous conditions on the roads.
We're often busy worrying about wintry conditions and traffic, but a whistleblower is bringing evidence that there's something else you may have to watch out for.
NBC 15's Lindsay Branwell joins us with details.
Yeah, John and Lee, we're talking about those yellow and black striped ends of guardrails on roads and highways. There's one model that's under scrutiny by the government, involved in a federal lawsuit, and it's all over our roads in Wisconsin.
They were designed to save your life in the course of an accident. And there have been so many people who has lost their life because these things are failing.
It's happening on highways all over the nation, blamed on these black and yellow striped ends on highway guardrails. At least that's what Joshua Harmon, a guardrail installer and maintenance worker, says.
This is a death trap.
A guardrail is actually meant to save lives. It's supposed to act as a buffer, shown in this video. The car slides along the rail posts and safely stops. But as Harmon took us on a drive along Madison's highways, he says there's one specific model of a guardrail end that's become deadly. It's called the ET Plus, and Harmon pointed out dozens of this model, this particular one on the eastbound Beltline.
I noticed them started failing, and I started looking to see why. I noticed, like I said, that they had changed the size of the feed channel.
Harmon says he noticed the dimensions of the guardrail end were changed. An inch here, a half inch there. The most noticeable change, a part of the rail went from 5 inches to 4 inches. And that's how Harmon identifies these guardrails, as 4 inchers. But what does it mean?
The difference is life and death. It's that simple. These little small changes, you change it exponentially.
Harmon claims the changes in the guardrail end don't allow it to slide down the rail the intended way.
It locks up and that guardrail goes through the vehicle.
And Harmon says the biggest problem, the manufacturing company didn't tell anyone.
They had, done some significant structural changes, but never notified the government.
These guardrails all over the nation have failing heads, as guardrail ends are called in the industry. Harmon says that's the cause of these crashes with critical and fatal outcomes. In Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and right next door in Illinois, the rail has impaled drivers and passengers. And he says all of these are the result of the 4-inch head.
Harmon says he's talked with many of the crash victims. He says they want to make sure no one else goes through what they've gone through.
Now, this story is not over. When we come back on NBC 15 News at 10, Lindsay will show you the outcome of a federal lawsuit on this issue and what the guardrail manufacturer is saying. Our NBC 15 News investigation into potentially dangerous guardrails continues. Lindsay Branwell has the documents from a federal lawsuit and talked with the company that makes the guardrails that some say are dangerous.
And there's two or three different models of the 4-inch.
Joshua Harmon, a guardrail installer and maintenance worker, now travels the nation to find accidents caused by failed guardrail ends, or heads as they're called in the industry. He says he's doing it to save a life.
An accident occurs so quickly, but you depend upon it to work. That's the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. And there have been so many people who has lost their life because these things are failing. If something's not done, there'll be hundreds, if not thousands more.
Harmon says all these injuries and deaths are the result of the 4-inch head of an ET Plus guardrail. A head, he tells us, never made it onto the highway legally. In Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and right next door in Illinois, he believes the make of these guardrails have impaled cars, causing critical and fatal accidents. The Wisconsin Department of Transportation is aware these 4-inch heads are on state roads. But as this issue has come to light, they will not use the ET Plus for future projects until further notice, awaiting a safety review on the head. They say there have been no accidents in the state as a result of the 4-inch head, and Harmon's research backs that up. But he says it's not worth waiting for a death to pull these off the road
They need to do an in-service review of their own. 2 states have already done that and come to the same conclusion. These are a safety hazard. One left on the highway is one too many. It's a person's life. They need to be removed and replaced.
And that's what he's asking for in all 50 states. Harmon is the plaintiff in a federal lawsuit against Trinity, who makes the 4-inch guardrails. In a False Claims Act, Harmon accused Trinity of secretly modifying the guardrail and not informing the Highway Administration, whose approval is necessary before installing it on highways. We reached out to Trinity and they sent us to their website, where it says they did test the unit with all the changes in 2005 and waited for approval before it went on the nation's highways. They do admit the change from 5 inches to 4 inches, but Harmon says that isn't the whole truth.
Not what's out here on the road. There are a wider exit gate, a higher channel.
He is adamant the head wasn't approved. This is his best evidence, an email from Trinity employees saying they could make this change with no announcement.
Yeah, the bottom line is the motivation for Trinity. And it was proven in court. They were convicted of fraud.
When it comes to Harmon's case, a few months ago, a jury in Texas found Trinity liable for keeping the changes secret. Since the jury's decision, Trinity says they're testing the 4-inch that's on the road. Harmon says the unit they're testing isn't even in Wisconsin. He says it's a new model only found on the East Coast.
It's creating a persona where people will think that what is being tested in San Antonio is actually what is on the nation's highways, and it's not.
The judge has yet to enter the verdict. Then Trinity will have the option to appeal, but Harmon hopes mediation will be an option. He only wants one thing at this point: getting every 4-inch head off the road.
It could be another person's life. I mean, I don't look at one can be left out here. I look at every one of them has to be removed.
The Federal Highway Administration has published the first 4 crash tests done on the 4-inch ET+. All have passed, but they still have 4 to go. I spoke with Joshua Harmon today, who says he believes test number 8 has failed.
Lindsay, there's a lot of information to soak in here, a lot of information.
That's right. And so you've put together some resources for people who may be interested in learning more.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of facts to this, but we have Joshua Harmon's website that has pictures, evidence against these guardrails. We have Trinity, the manufacturer's website, that has their accreditations and the federal highway results. It's all on NBC15.com. Just click on this story.
All right, good job,
Lindsay,
Lindsay.
thanks.
Important information.